Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Facebook Live Friday event. I am Candace Tyler, your host, as well as BizIQ's Community Relations Coordinator. Today, we are talking about if marketing is a one and done event, and spoiler alert, it is not. Today, Dorothy and I will be giving you a bunch of insight onto why that is and some tips to help you get started. If you are new to our broadcast, this is Dorothy, and Dorothy is the Director of Lead and Demand Generation here at BizIQ. So let's dive in. Now, Dorothy, I know you and I have probably heard this phrase a lot, but it may be new to some of our viewers that marketing is a process and not a single event. When business owners have this short-term thinking in regards to their marketing campaigns, they can miss out on some great opportunities. Dorothy, do you want to share your insight?
Yes, I'm happy to. This is something that's been an issue for business owners for a very long time. Well, even before digital marketing, they would send one postcard or place one ad because they got a great deal from a sales rep, only to never see any return on their investment. So what business owners need to do is instead strive to be consistent in their marketing efforts. And I don't mean just consistent in frequency of what you do, but in the quality and your message as well. So what I mean by that is that you need to have quality content every time. If the quality of your ad copy and your social posts and your blog content wavers in any way, you're going to risk losing your readers. And when that happens, you cannot generate new leads. So think about the last time you clicked on a blog post and it was poorly written, right? You left that page. You probably never went back to that website again. That's what I do.
All right, I
Yeah.
bounced.
And then frequency. So consistently post content to your blog, your social posts, so that you are present and reachable to those who want to connect with you. Right now in this pandemic, that's even more important than ever with everyone being online. You do not want to seem absent or unimportant to your prospects. Your customers and prospects will start to look forward to your posts. And even if you like to suddenly go radio silent, you're going to lose that audience and you've had
Right.
all that work. So you want to hold on to them. Make sure that you have a posting schedule so that you can maintain, even if that means you start with only just one post a week. Get a good routine down and then increase the number of posts over time. Don't take on more than you can chew. Start with one, make sure you're doing it right, and then just kind of grow from there. And then
Gotta walk
lastly,
before you can run.
true, yes. Lastly, but certainly not least, is being consistent with your message. So your message needs to be spot on every time in order to not confuse your prospect on what you do and at the value that you bring. Now, you can get creative in how you portray your message, but the idea needs to stay the same every time. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it is spot on advice. Now let's talk about the importance of a multifaceted marketing approach. So, business owners, they have their website, they have their Google listing, but do they need more than that, Dorothy?
Well, there is a reason why so many marketing channels exist in the digital world.
Right?
It's because no one channel will bring you all the business you need. There is a saturation point that occurs when you need to have, so you need to have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. Your website is kind of your hub of your digital marketing, and but you need SEO to keep showing up on those search engines. You'll also need a social media presence, both paid ads, as in Facebook, and then organic, as in your business page. Both have their strengths and their weaknesses, and they work well together. Email marketing, here now I've just listed off 1, 2, 3, 4. This is like number 5, I think.
Right.
Fifth channel, right? So email marketing is it's a must, right? It's still the highest ROI of any marketing channel with a return of $49 for every $1 spent on your efforts. So the point being is that you have to have a diverse marketing mix so that you can hit your prospects where they are online. Now, again, I just touched on 5, and there's probably, 50 times more than what I've talked about. And your industry and your business might have ones that work really well for you. So explore outside just kind of like the 1 or 2 and see where else that you can find your prospects.
Great point. Now, we all know the secret to online success. Well, secret to online success is great content. But great content doesn't just fall in your lap, you know?
Right.
Between search engines and algorithms and that company's own promotional plan, that is how that awesome piece of content presented itself to you. Now, if you have a great piece of content, you have to have a complementary promotional plan to go along with it.
Hmm.
Whether that means repurposing it into a video or maybe adding some paid media, you got to add something in there.
Right.
Dorothy, what are your tips and thoughts about promotional plans and how to come up with a good one?
So, as Bill Gates said, content is king. And the beauty of content is that you can repurpose it in so many ways. So I would start your plan around trending topics that are relevant to your business and that people want to read.
Hmm,
Then research keywords that people are using to find those topics and use those as your basis of your content. One best practice that could work for your business, and one that we do here at BizIQ, is we start with a longer piece of content, like an ebook or a white paper. It starts as your lead magnet or your gated content, and then you
hmm,
can repurpose it into several other things: blog posts, checklists, infographics, social posts, video content. You get my point, right?
right.
So it's a fantastic way to be super efficient with your content, and it's extremely cost effective as well. So you can take that one piece and you can use it many times over for a month or more.
Right. Now, you said something that was really interesting in there that lead magnets and gated pieces of content go hand in hand. For
Mhm.
some of our viewers that may not be familiar with gated pieces of content, what does that exactly mean?
That's a great question. Thanks. And I'm happy to clarify. So, gated content is you have a valuable piece of content. Maybe it's an ebook or a
Hmm.
white paper, and you put it behind a form. So, you're asking the user to give you some information about themselves so that they can get this juicy piece of content. Think of it as like a digital currency.
Yes.
So it works really well as a demand gen program. And I would just kind of caution that you don't create the forms to be too long. People don't mind giving information, but too much information is going to scare them off. So keep it simple: name, email address, maybe company name. And then in exchange, of course, they get that great piece of content you created.
Nice. Now, when I'm speaking to people about digital marketing, I often tell them that the internet is a lot like the Wild West, that you never really know what's going to come out and you never really know what's going to happen. And this is why campaign optimization is so important, but often overlooked. The internet is constantly evolving, and so your campaign and your marketing strategies need to be evolving with it.
Yeah.
Marketing is not a set it and forget it mentality. So, Dorothy, can you tell us from personal experience your thoughts on campaign optimization strategies?
Yeah. So campaign optimization is what takes up most of my time as a demand gen marketer. In fact, that's just what I was doing before we jumped on this live.
Nice.
Yeah, because you're absolutely correct, right? It is not a set it and forget it thing. So let me give you a few examples. So right now, the paid ad space is very competitive, as you can imagine. And you need to stay on top of your ads and how they're performing, and not only optimize the ad copy and the landing pages, but your bid strategy as well. Now you can work with the built-in optimization function inside Google to manage your bids. We do it a little bit differently here, but you can do it that way. But you still have to manage your keywords, both the targeted ones and the negative ones. There are some great tools such as AdStream and AdZuma that can assist in managing your paid ad campaigns. But if you're only running a few ads, then it might not be cost effective. And those tools don't always get it right. They might make some suggestions that don't seem right for your business. So you can't just say, yep, 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 make those changes. You have to really look at them. Or if you're working with your marketing company, have them keep an eye on them. And that could be as often as several times a week. That's what we do.
Right.
Yeah. So there's another thing I want to mention. It's called ad fatigue. And
Ooh.
so I can see this plays a bigger issue in more like Facebook ads than it does in, say, paid search, and that's because social media ads are more disruptive than paid search is more intent based. So ad fatigue is exactly what it sounds like. You're showing up to showing the same old ad to the same audience, and over time that audience will just end up tuning it out.
Like
And
anyone
even
would.
right, of course. I mean, like we do it all the time. We're
Right.
just people.
Keep scrolling.
Yeah, exactly. So even the best Facebook ads work for a few weeks and then they will start declining in performance. So know this, expect it, and start to subtly tweak your winning ads to keep them fresh. So ad fatigue can set in as little as a few days, especially if you have a small audience. So
Like
keep
us.
an eye on your click-through rate, and if they suddenly start to drop and your ads are starting to cost you a bit more, then you could be experiencing some ad fatigue. What we find with a lot of our clients is that that's especially true in smaller markets because you're going to burn through that audience faster and then you'll need to have more options to rotate through. So part of your planning process, have those options ready to go so that you aren't hitting that point where you hit that ad fatigue and you start seeing poor performance. We actually did a whole webinar on this topic specifically, and if you're interested in listening to it, I'm going to post right there the link. I highly recommend you take a listen. It's called The 7 Costly Mistakes You're Making in Your PPC and Facebook Ads, and just kind of save that for later.
Yes. And now let's talk about a corner of marketing that people oftentimes forget. So marketing isn't only bringing in new customers, it's also about keeping current customers happy and ensure that you are including conversations and upsells for existing customers when you're looking at the impact your marketing is happening or
Right.
having. Dorothy, what are your thoughts on retention strategies and how should business owners navigate this?
So many business owners are familiar with that age-old statistic, right? That acquiring a new customer can cost 5 times more than retaining an existing customer.
Right.
So it just makes customer retention just even more important. And especially now during COVID, when customer spending is at an all-time low in many industries. So I've got some more numbers I want to share that I think are pretty compelling. All right, so let's just jump into them. All right, so the probability of a sale from a new customer is only 5 to 20%. That's not that great when you think about it.
Right.
Whereas the probability of upselling to an existing customer is between 60 and 70%. I like those stats a little bit better.
Right.
And additionally, repeat customers spend an average of 33% more than a new customer.
Wow.
And 80% of your future profits come from just 20% of your existing customers. And right now, COVID is making it nearly impossible to recruit first-time buyers. So retaining and expanding current customers is just key to keeping your revenue flowing. Now, here's another stat. It's not that great, but I think there's a way you can leverage it. So unfortunately, nearly 80% of companies spend less than 30% of their time and budget on customer retention efforts. That's not good. I see this as a huge opportunity because with that stat, you can bet that your customers are not protecting their customer. Your competitors are not protecting their customers, and that means you have a chance to win over some share.
And we are all about winning some market share here.
Yep.
Well, that's a wrap for this week, folks. Thank you, Dorothy, for joining us. And please reach out if you, the viewers, have any questions or comments that have, I don't know, come up during our time talking here. And we would be happy to continue the conversation. Thank you, Dorothy, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Join us next week as we dive into how to optimize your GMB listing for success. I will be joined by the ever lovely Macy Cianco, who is part of our Google Local Services Department. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll catch you right here next week, and have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.